Jessica stood in the courthouse bathroom, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. Her white dress, the simple one she'd chosen for what was supposed to be a small, intimate ceremony, felt like it was suffocating her. She pressed her palms against the cool porcelain sink and tried to breathe. Her phone buzzed for the 20th time. Burke. Again, she didn't need to read the message to know what it said. More apologies, more excuses, more lies about why he'd kissed her maid of honor in the parking lot an hour before their wedding. Jessica. Her best friend Maya knocked softly. Honey, we need to go. Burke's not coming back. She knew. Of course she knew. The man she'd loved since sophomore year, the one who promised her forever, had confessed to cheating and walked away without looking back. Left her standing in a courthouse in a $100 dress with wilted grocery store flowers. Jessica grabbed her purse and opened the door. Let's just go. Maya's eyes were full of pity, which somehow made it worse. I'm so sorry. He's an idiot. You deserve so much better. I know, Jessica said, her voice flat. She did know, but knowing didn't stop the humiliation burning through her chest. They walked through the courthouse hallway, past happy couples waiting for their turn, past families celebrating. Jessica kept her head down, trying to become invisible. That's when she heard it. No, grandfather, I understand the terms. Yes, I'll be married by 5 o'clock today. I gave you my word. Jessica glanced up. A man stood near the courthouse entrance, phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight with frustration. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her rent. Dark hair, sharp features, the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. The bride? He laughed, bitter and cold. She'll be here. Everything's arranged. He ended the call and checked his watch. Then he swore under his breath. Jessica should have kept walking, should have gone home, gotten drunk, cried herself to sleep. But something made her stop. Maybe it was the rage still burning in her chest. Maybe it was the reckless part of her that had been silent her whole life while she planned everything perfectly, followed every rule, and still got her heart destroyed. The man checked his watch again. His phone rang. He silenced it. Excuse me, Jessica heard herself say. He turned, irritation clear on his face. I'm busy. You're getting married today. His eyes narrowed. How is that your business? Your bride isn't coming, is she? For a moment his expression cracked. Surprise, then something harder. What makes you say that? Jessica smiled, and it felt dangerous. Because mine didn't show up either. Xavier Grantham had been raised to solve problems efficiently. When his grandfather's lawyer called 6 months ago with the ultimatum, marry before your 30th birthday or lose your inheritance and the company, he'd treated it like any other business transaction. He'd hired a matchmaker, found a suitable candidate. A woman who understood this was purely contractual, who wanted the money and asked no questions. They'd never even met in person. Everything was handled through lawyers and wire transfers. Until 20 minutes ago, when her lawyer called to say she'd gotten a better offer and wouldn't be coming. Now Xavier stood in a courthouse, watching his entire future slip away because of one flaky gold digger, and this random woman in a wrinkled white dress was staring at him like she could see straight through his carefully constructed walls. What exactly are you suggesting? He asked. She stepped closer. Up close, she was striking, dark hair falling loose around her shoulders, green eyes bright with something between fury and desperation. Her dress had a small stain near the hem. Her mascara was slightly smudged. She was a disaster. I'm suggesting we help each other, she said. You need a bride. I need to not go home to my empty apartment and explain to everyone that I got dumped on my wedding day, so let's get married. Xavier studied her. You're serious? Completely. She held out her hand. Jessica Hartley, 26, no criminal record, employed, and standing in a courthouse in a wedding dress with nowhere else to be. He should have said no. Should have called his grandfather, explained the situation, begged for more time. But Xavier Grantham didn't beg, and something about this woman's reckless audacity appealed to him. What do you want in return? Because everyone wanted something. Honestly, she laughed, sharp and humorless. I have no idea, but I figure anything's better than going home alone right now. Maya grabbed Jessica's arm. Jess, what are you doing? Something spontaneous for once in my life, Jessica said, not breaking eye contact with Xavier. What do you say? Xavier pulled out his phone, pulled up his lawyer's contact. He had 5 minutes to decide if he was really going to marry a complete stranger to save his inheritance. His phone buzzed. His grandfather. You have 2 hours, Xavier. Don't disappoint me. He looked at Jessica. This wild-eyed, broken-hearted woman who was either his salvation or his biggest mistake. Fine, he said, but we do this my way. We sign a contract. This marriage lasts exactly 6 months. After that, we divorce, you get a settlement, and we never see each other again. 6 months, Jessica repeated, take it or leave it. She should have left it, should have run, but Jessica was so tired of being careful, of planning everything perfectly and still losing. Deal, she said. 20 minutes later, they stood before a bored-looking judge who'd already performed 6 weddings that day. Xavier's lawyer, Marcus, had rushed over with a pre-nuptial agreement printed on official letterhead. Jessica signed it without reading, ignoring Maya's horrified whispers. The judge cleared his throat. Do you, Xavier James Grantham, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Xavier said, his voice flat and businesslike. And do you, Jessica Marie Hartley, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Jessica looked at Xavier, really looked at him, this stranger who was about to become her husband. His jaw was set, his eyes unreadable. He was already regretting this, she could tell. Good. So was she. I do, she said. By the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Xavier leaned in stiffly, pressed his lips to hers for exactly 1 second, then pulled back like he'd been burned. Congratulations, the judge said, already reaching for the next file. And just like that, Jessica was married to a billionaire she'd met 15 minutes ago. Maya pulled her aside as Xavier spoke to his lawyer. Jessica, this is insane. You can't just marry a stranger. I just did. What if he's dangerous? What if he's crazy? Then I'll be crazy rich and dangerous for 6 months, Jessica said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Maya, I spent 6 years planning a perfect life with Burke. I did everything right, and he still destroyed me. So maybe it's time to do something completely wrong. Xavier finished his conversation and walked over. We need to go. My grandfather wants to meet you immediately. Now? You're my wife now. Welcome to the Grantham family. His smile was cold. Try not to embarrass me. Jessica grabbed her small bouquet of half-dead flowers and followed her new husband out of the courthouse. 6 months, she told herself. 6 months of playing pretend, then she'd get a settlement and start over. What could possibly go wrong? The car was a black Mercedes with leather seats that probably cost more than Jessica's annual salary. Xavier sat across from her, typing on his phone, ignoring her completely. So, Jessica said, breaking the silence, should we talk about this? What's there to talk about? I don't know. Basic information. What do you do? Where do we live? What's your grandfather like? Xavier looked up, irritation flickering across his face. I run Grantham Industries. We'll live in my penthouse in Manhattan. And my grandfather is dying, which is why we're in this situation. Oh, Jessica's anger deflated slightly. I'm sorry. Don't be. He's lived a long life. Xavier's expression softened for just a moment. He raised me after my parents died. He's the only family I have, and his dying wish is to see me settled before he transfers the company to me. So you married a stranger to make him happy? I married a stranger to keep what's mine, Xavier corrected. The company is my life's work. I won't lose it because of some outdated clause in a will. Jessica studied him. You really don't care that we don't know each other at all. Should I? He met her eyes. This is a business arrangement. We both get what we need. Feelings just complicate things. Wow, romantic. I wasn't trying to be romantic. I was trying to be honest. Xavier tucked his phone away. Look, I'll make this easy. We'll live together for 6 months, attend events together, convince my grandfather and the board that this is real. When the time comes, we'll divorce quietly. You'll sign an NDA, take your settlement, and disappear. Disappear, Jessica repeated. Poor choice of words. You'll move on with your life, with enough money to do whatever you want. The car pulled up to a massive estate in Connecticut. 3 stories of old money and intimidation surrounded by manicured gardens. Your grandfather lives here, Jessica breathed. When he's not in the city, yes. A butler opened the door. Xavier stepped out first, then offered his hand to Jessica. She took it, and electricity shot up her arm. From his sharp intake of breath, he felt it too. They dropped hands immediately. Inside, the mansion was even more overwhelming. Oil paintings, crystal chandeliers, marble floors. Jessica felt like she'd stepped into a museum. Master Xavier, an elderly man in a wheelchair, greeted them from the sitting room. "You're late." "Traffic," Xavier said smoothly. He guided Jessica forward. "Grandfather, this is Jessica. My wife." The old man's eyes were sharp despite his frail body. He studied Jessica like she was a stock he was considering investing in. "Jessica," he said slowly, "you married my grandson." "I did, sir. Why?" The question caught her off guard. Xavier tensed beside her. "Because," Jessica said, deciding honesty was her only play, "we met at exactly the right moment. When we both needed someone." The old man smiled, actually smiled. "Sit down, child. Tell me about yourself." For the next hour, Jessica answered questions. Where she grew up, what she did for work, marketing coordinator for a small firm, her family, just her mother in Oregon, father passed away years ago. Xavier's grandfather, William, listened intently. Xavier sat rigid on the couch, clearly expecting her to mess up. She didn't. Finally, William wheeled closer to Jessica. "You're different from what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone like him," he gestured to Xavier. "Cold, calculating, marrying for business." "Oh, we are marrying for business," Jessica said honestly, "but that doesn't mean we can't be kind about it." William laughed, a real, genuine laugh that made Xavier's eyes widen in surprise. "I like her," William declared. "Welcome to the family, Jessica Grantham." Jessica Grantham, her new name, her new life. God help her. By the time they reached Xavier's penthouse, their penthouse now, it was nearly midnight. Jessica was exhausted, emotionally drained, and starting to realize the full insanity of what she'd done. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, modern furniture in blacks and greys, everything sleek and expensive and utterly impersonal. "Guest room is down the hall," Xavier said, loosening his tie. "I'll have my assistant arrange for your things to be moved from your apartment tomorrow." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He poured himself a scotch. "I assume you'll need to quit your job. I'll provide a monthly allowance. You'll have a credit card for expenses. A car and driver will be available whenever you need them." Jessica sank onto the leather couch. "This is insane." "You agreed to it." "I know, I just—" She laughed, slightly hysterical. "This morning I was supposed to marry my high school sweetheart. Now I'm married to a billionaire I met in a courthouse hallway." Xavier sat across from her, studying her with those intense dark eyes. "Having second thoughts?" "No, maybe, I don't know." Jessica ran her hands through her hair. "What happens now?" "Now we learn to live together. There will be events, galas, business dinners, family obligations. You'll need new clothes. My assistant will arrange a stylist. I'm being bought a whole new wardrobe. You're being provided with appropriate attire for your new role." Xavier's tone was matter of fact. "We need to present a unified front, convince people this marriage is real." "How do we do that when we're complete strangers?" "We learn about each other. We create a story." Xavier pulled out his phone. "We met 6 months ago at a charity event. Whirlwind romance. We kept it private. Decided to elope today on impulse." "People will never believe that." "Why not? It's partially true. We did get married on impulse today." Jessica stood, walked to the massive windows. The city sprawled below her, a million lights in the darkness. "What about the real stuff? Your family's going to ask questions. Your friends." "I don't have friends. I have business associates." "That's depressing." "That's reality." Xavier joined her at the window. Up close, she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. "My life is my work. It always has been. This marriage doesn't change that." "And what's my role in your life exactly?" He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since they'd left the courthouse. "Decoration, arm candy. proof that I'm stable and settled. You smile at parties, make small talk, and don't cause problems. Wow, you really know how to make a girl feel special. I'm not trying to make you feel special. I'm trying to be clear about expectations. Jessica's temper flared. Here's an expectation for you. I'm not some doll you can dress up and parade around. I'm a real person. I have thoughts and feelings and you signed a contract, Xavier interrupted coldly. You knew what this was. You're right, I did. Jessica headed for the hallway. Where's the guest room? Third door on the left. She made it 5 steps before she turned back. For the record, your grandfather is dying, and instead of spending his last months actually connecting with him, you're staging an elaborate lie. That's not cold and calculating, that's just sad. She saw it land, the flash of hurt in his eyes before his walls slammed back up. Good night, Jessica. Good night, husband. She locked herself in the guest room, which was nicer than any hotel she'd ever stayed in, and finally let herself cry. What had she done? Jessica woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a moment of complete disorientation. Where was she? This wasn't her apartment. This bed was too soft, the sheets too expensive. Oh God, the wedding, Xavier, the contract. She grabbed her phone, 17 missed calls, 12 from Maya, 3 from her mother, 2 from unknown numbers. And 1 text from Xavier, coffee's in the kitchen, we need to talk. She found a robe in the closet, silk of course, and padded out to the kitchen. Xavier stood at the counter in running clothes, hair damp from a shower, looking unfairly attractive for someone who'd gotten married to a stranger less than 24 hours ago. Morning, he said neutrally. Morning. Jessica poured coffee, added cream, trying to feel normal. You wanted to talk? My publicist will release a statement today about our marriage. I need to know. Will anyone come forward with problems? Ex-boyfriends? Scandals? Anything that could damage my reputation? You mean besides the fact that we met yesterday? His jaw tightened. I'm serious. So am I. Jessica sat at the kitchen island. No scandals, no ex-boyfriends who'll talk to the press, just Burke, and he's not going to say anything because he's too busy with my former maid of honor. Good. Is that all you care about? Your reputation? It's what keeps the company strong. The shareholders need to trust me. The board needs to believe I'm stable. Xavier set down his coffee. My grandfather built Grantham Industries from nothing. I won't let it fall apart because of gossip. Jessica studied him. You really love the company, don't you? It's all I have. The admission was so raw, so honest, that it caught her off guard. What about your parents? She asked softly. You said they died. How old were you? Xavier's expression shuttered. I was 8, car accident. My grandfather took me in, raised me to run the company someday. End of story. That's not the end. That's barely the beginning. We're not doing this. Doing what? Sharing our feelings. Bonding. This isn't that kind of marriage. Jessica set down her mug carefully. Xavier, I understand this is a business arrangement. But if we're going to convince people we're in love, we need to at least pretend to know each other. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, fine. What do you want to know? Everything. Favorite color, favorite food, how you take your coffee, the stuff couples actually know about each other. This is ridiculous. This is necessary. Jessica pulled out her phone. We have 6 months to make this believable. We might as well start now. For the next hour, they traded information like baseball cards. Jessica learned that Xavier was allergic to shellfish, played piano but never in public, and had once wanted to be an architect before his grandfather convinced him business was his calling. Xavier learned that Jessica was terrified of spiders, loved old movies, and had planned to go to Paris for her honeymoon before Burke destroyed everything. Paris, Xavier said thoughtfully, we should go. What? For our honeymoon, my grandfather will expect it. We can go for a week, be seen at the right restaurants, take photos for social media, it'll sell the story. Jessica's heart did something complicated. A fake honeymoon in Paris. Unless you'd rather go somewhere else. No, Paris is, she laughed. This is so surreal. Tell me about it. Xavier's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and swore. My assistant, she's downstairs with your new wardrobe. Already? I don't waste time. 20 minutes later, Jessica stood in her guest room surrounded by garment bags. Xavier's assistant, a terrifyingly efficient woman named Vanessa, pulled out dress after dress, each more expensive than the last. "Mr. Grantham wanted to make sure you had options for the charity gala tomorrow night," Vanessa explained. "I took the liberty of selecting several designers I thought would suit you." "Tomorrow night?" Jessica's stomach dropped. "The annual Grantham Foundation Gala. 500 guests, black tie. All the major shareholders and board members will be there." Vanessa gave her a sympathetic look. "It'll be your debut as Mrs. Grantham." After Vanessa left, Jessica sat on the bed, surrounded by thousands of dollars worth of designer clothes, and tried not to panic. One day. She'd been married for one day, and tomorrow she'd have to convince 500 people that she was madly in love with Xavier Grantham. She was so screwed. The dress was midnight blue, elegant and sophisticated in a way Jessica had never felt before. Her hair was styled in soft waves, her makeup professionally applied. Diamond earrings, borrowed from Vanessa, glittered in her ears. She looked like someone else, someone who belonged in Xavier's world. "Ready?" Xavier appeared in his tuxedo, looking every inch the billionaire heir. "No." "Good, nervous is believable." He offered his arm. "Just smile, stay close to me, and let me handle the conversations." The gala was held in a historic hotel ballroom, all crystal and gold and old money. The moment they walked in, heads turned. Whispers followed them across the room. "Is that Xavier?" "He got married." "Who is she?" Xavier's hand settled on the small of Jessica's back, warm and grounding. "Ignore them," he murmured. But it was impossible to ignore the stares, the speculation, the obvious judgment from women in designer gowns who looked at Jessica like she was an imposter, which she supposed she was. Xavier, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, approached. "Congratulations on the marriage. We were all quite surprised by the news." "Thank you, Richard." Xavier's smile was polished. "This is my wife, Jessica. Jessica, Richard Ashford, chairman of the board." "Lovely to meet you," Jessica said, hoping her smile looked genuine. Richard's eyes were calculating. "How did you two meet?" "Charity event," Xavier said smoothly, exactly as they'd practiced. 6 months ago, I took one look at her and knew she was special." "How romantic." Richard's tone suggested he didn't believe a word. "And what do you do, Jessica?" "I was in marketing. But I've decided to focus on philanthropic work now that I'm married." "How convenient." The barb landed, but before Jessica could respond, Xavier pulled her closer. "If you'll excuse us, Richard, I promised my wife a dance." On the dance floor, Xavier pulled her into his arms with practiced ease. They moved together, and Jessica was surprised to find they fit perfectly. "You're doing great," he said quietly. "He thinks I'm a gold digger." "He thinks everyone's a gold digger. Don't let him get to you." But the night was full of Richard Ashfords. Every conversation felt like a test. Jessica was failing. She smiled until her face hurt, made small talk until her voice went hoarse, and clung to Xavier's arm like a lifeline. "I need air," she finally whispered. Xavier led her to a balcony overlooking the city. The cool night air was a relief after the stuffy ballroom. "I'm sorry," Jessica said. "I'm terrible at this." "You're not. They're just suspicious." "Because we got married out of nowhere." "Because you're not one of them." Xavier leaned against the railing. "You didn't go to the right schools. You don't have the right pedigree. In their eyes, that makes you suspect. Do you think that?" He looked at her, really looked at her. "I think you're the most real person in that room." Jessica's breath caught. For a moment, just a moment, the pretense fell away, and they were just two people who'd made a crazy decision together. Then Xavier's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and tensed. "We need to go back inside. My grandfather just arrived." William Grantham's entrance stopped the gala cold. Despite his wheelchair, despite his obvious frailty, he commanded the room like a king surveying his kingdom. He spotted Xavier and Jessica immediately. "There's my grandson and his beautiful bride." Jessica knelt beside his wheelchair. "Mr. Grantham, you should be resting." "I'll rest when I'm dead, dear girl." His eyes twinkled. "I wanted to see you both, see how the newlyweds are adjusting." "We're adjusting fine," Xavier said stiffly. Are you? William looked between them. Because from where I'm sitting, you both look miserable. Jessica and Xavier exchanged glances. Grandfather, don't grandfather me, boy. William's voice carried steel beneath the frailty. I may be dying, but I'm not blind. You two are playing a part. Jessica's heart stopped. He knew. Of course he knew. I don't know what you mean, Xavier said carefully. You forget. I built an empire by reading people. William rolled closer. But here's the interesting thing. I don't care. You don't care, Xavier repeated. Oh, I know this marriage started as a transaction. You needed a wife to meet my requirements. Jessica needed, he looked at her kindly, an escape, a fresh start. Jessica nodded slowly. But transactions can become something real, William continued, if you let them. My own marriage started as a business arrangement. Your grandmother and I were matched by our families. We didn't love each other on our wedding day. I didn't know that, Xavier said softly. We had 52 years together, 52 years of learning to love each other more every day. William's eyes grew distant. Don't waste your 6 months playing pretend. Use them to find out if something real is possible. He wheeled away, leaving Jessica and Xavier standing in stunned silence. Did that just happen? Jessica asked. My grandfather knows. And he's okay with it? Xavier ran his hand through his hair. Apparently. They stood there, the gala swirling around them, both trying to process what William had said. Dance with me, Xavier said suddenly. What? Dance with me, not because we have to, because I want to. Jessica let him pull her onto the dance floor. This time, when they moved together, something shifted. His hand was warmer on her back. Her fingers curled tighter around his. Your grandfather is a wise man, she said. He's a meddling old romantic. Maybe we could use more of that in our lives. Xavier looked down at her. Are you suggesting we actually try to make this work? Beyond the contract? I'm suggesting, Jessica said carefully, that we stop lying to everyone, including ourselves. We're married. We're living together. We're going to Paris next week. Maybe we should see where this goes instead of counting down to the divorce. That's dangerous. So was getting married in the first place. Xavier was quiet for a long moment. Then he leaned down, pressed his forehead to hers. 6 months. Let's see what happens. 6 months, she agreed. Neither of them mentioned that 6 months felt simultaneously like forever and not nearly long enough. The private jet was obscene. Jessica had never experienced anything like it. Leather seats, a full bar, a bedroom in the back. This is how you always travel? She asked as they took off. Usually. Xavier was working on his laptop, conference call in an hour. Make yourself comfortable. It's a 7-hour flight. Jessica explored the plane, trying not to gawk at every luxury. When she returned, Xavier had finished his call and was pouring wine. Drink? He offered. Sure. They sat across from each other, the Paris lights eventually appearing below them as they descended. The hotel was a restored mansion in the Marais, exclusive and expensive. Their suite had views of Notre Dame and a bed the size of Jessica's entire apartment. One bed. I can sleep on the couch, Xavier said immediately. Don't be ridiculous. It's a huge bed. We can share. Jessica tried to sound casual, like sleeping next to her husband wouldn't make her heart race. They unpacked in awkward silence. Xavier had a dinner meeting that night with European investors. Jessica begged off, exhausted from the flight. Order room service, Xavier said. Charge anything you want. I'll be back around midnight. Alone in the suite, Jessica ran a bath in the marble tub, using the expensive bath oils provided. She ordered champagne and strawberries, felt like a character in a movie. This was her life now, at least for 6 months. She was almost asleep when Xavier returned. She heard him moving quietly through the suite, trying not to wake her. Then the bed shifted as he got in, keeping a careful distance. You awake? He whispered. Yeah. How was your evening? Luxurious. Yours? Boring business talk. He was quiet for a moment. Thank you for coming to Paris with me. You're welcome. In the darkness, with the distance between them, it was easier to be honest. Can I ask you something? Jessica said. Sure. Do you ever wish this was real? That we'd met normally, fallen in love the traditional way? Xavier was silent for so long she thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, sometimes. But I'm not built for normal, Jessica. I never have been. Why not? Because everyone I've ever loved has left. My parents died. My grandmother died when I was 16. I learned early that business is safer than people, contracts are more reliable than emotions. Jessica's heart ached for him. She rolled over, could barely see his silhouette in the dark. That must be lonely. It's safe. Safe isn't the same as happy. Maybe not. But happiness is temporary, success is what lasts. Jessica wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, but she was tired and his breathing was already evening out into sleep. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow they'd talk more. She didn't know that tomorrow would change everything. Jessica woke to an empty bed and a note. Went for a run. Back soon. X. She smiled at the casual initial, got ready for the day. Xavier had suggested they explore the city, take some photos for social media to prove the honeymoon was real. When he returned, sweaty and gorgeous in running clothes, she was dressed and ready. "Give me 10 minutes to shower," he said. They spent the morning like actual tourists, walking along the Seine, visiting museums, eating pastries at a cafe. Xavier took photos of her in front of the Eiffel Tower. She caught candid shots of him laughing at street performers. "This is nice," she said as they sat by the river, "just being normal." "Is this what normal couples do?" "I think so. I've never been half of a normal couple." Xavier looked at her. "Burke was your first serious relationship." "Only serious relationship. We started dating when I was 20. I thought we'd be together forever." She shrugged. "Guess I was wrong. He was an idiot for cheating." "Yeah, well, his loss." Jessica bumped Xavier's shoulder. "What about you? Any serious relationships?" "A few. Nothing that lasted. Like I said, I'm not built for it." "You keep saying that like it's a fact instead of a choice." "Maybe it's both." They were interrupted by a photographer, a paparazzi who'd clearly recognized Xavier. He snapped several photos before Xavier waved him away. "Great," Xavier muttered. "Those will be in the tabloids tomorrow." "Is that a bad thing? We're supposed to be convincing people this is real." "I suppose you're right." That evening, they had dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. The food was incredible, the wine flowed freely, and for the first time since this whole arrangement began, Jessica felt genuinely happy. Xavier told her stories about his grandfather's wild younger days. Jessica shared memories of her father, who died when she was 15. "He sounds like a good man," Xavier said. "He was. He taught me that love is a choice you make every day, not just a feeling." Wise advice. "I forgot it with Burke. I got comfortable. Stopped choosing him actively. Maybe that's why he strayed." Xavier reached across the table, took her hand. "No, he strayed because he was weak. That's not on you." The touch sent electricity through her. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Understanding, attraction, possibility. Xavier's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression darkened. "What's wrong?" "The photos from today. They're already online. But there's more." He turned the phone toward her. The tabloid headline read, "Billionaire's whirlwind wedding, true love or business deal." Below was a photo of them at the gala, looking stiff and uncomfortable. Another of Jessica looking overwhelmed. A third of Xavier on his phone, ignoring her. The article speculated that their marriage was a sham, that Jessica was a gold digger, that Xavier had married her to satisfy his grandfather's will. "They know," Jessica whispered. "They suspect. There's a difference." "What do we do?" Xavier's jaw set. "We fight back. We give them a story they can't resist." "How?" He stood, pulled her up with him. "Come with me." Xavier led Jessica out of the restaurant and through the Paris streets. Paparazzi followed at a distance. They always did when he was in public. "Where are we going?" Jessica asked. "You'll see." They ended up at the base of the Eiffel Tower, now lit up against the night sky. Tourists swarmed around them, but Xavier ignored them all. He pulled Jessica close, cupped her face in his hands. "What are you—" He kissed her. Not the stiff, awkward kiss from their wedding. This was real, deep and claiming and full of heat. Jessica's surprise melted into response, her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. Camera flashes went off around them like fireworks. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Xavier whispered against her lips, "Tomorrow's headline will be much better." He was right. The next morning, photos of their kiss were everywhere. Grantham's passionate Paris kiss declared one. Billionaire proves love is real, announced another. Social media exploded with commentary, "They look so in love." "This is the romance we needed. Forget the haters, this is beautiful." Jessica sat in their hotel bed, scrolling through the coverage, trying to ignore how her lips still tingled from Xavier's kiss. "It worked," she said when he emerged from the shower. "Everyone believes us now." "Good." He sat beside her, hair still damp. "There's a problem, though." "What?" "I felt something when I kissed you last night. Something real." Jessica's heart stopped. "Xavier, I know the rules. I know this is supposed to be temporary, but I can't keep pretending that I'm not attracted to you. We have a contract. Contracts can be renegotiated." Jessica stood, needing distance. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should stop fighting this, stop pretending we don't feel the chemistry between us." Xavier crossed to her, but didn't touch. "I'm saying maybe for the next 6 months, we make this marriage as real as we want it to be." "And then what?" "When the 6 months are up?" "I don't know, but I'm tired of planning everything perfectly." He smiled slightly. "You said you wanted to do something spontaneous. So did I when I married you. Maybe we keep being spontaneous." Jessica's mind raced. This was dangerous. She could get hurt, but she'd already been destroyed by Burke's safe, predictable love. Maybe danger was what she needed. "Okay," she heard herself say, "let's be spontaneous." Xavier's smile was devastating. "Yeah? Yeah. But we need rules. If one of us wants to stop, we stop. No questions asked. And we're honest with each other, no games." "Agreed. And when the 6 months are up, we decide together what happens next." "Deal." They sealed it with a handshake that turned into a kiss that turned into Xavier backing her toward the bed. "We should probably get breakfast," Jessica said against his mouth. "Breakfast can wait." The sun was high in the sky before they finally left the hotel room. Paris became a turning point. They returned to New York different than they'd left. Not strangers pretending, but two people genuinely trying. Xavier made an effort to come home earlier from work. Jessica started attending board meetings, learning the business. They had dinner together most nights, talking about everything from politics to their favorite childhood memories. And the chemistry, it was undeniable. Every touch sparked, every kiss burned. The guest room sat empty as Jessica moved into Xavier's bed, into his life. "I like this version of you," she told him one night as they cooked dinner together. Xavier's idea of normal couple activities. "What version?" "Relaxed, happy, human." He laughed. "I'm still working on the human part." But he was trying. He was really trying. 2 months into their marriage, Jessica attended a Grantham Industries strategy meeting. She'd been studying the company, had ideas about their philanthropic division. "What if we expanded the foundation's reach?" she proposed. "Focused on education programs for underprivileged kids. Created scholarships?" Richard Ashford scoffed. "With all due respect, Mrs. Grantham, you're not qualified to make strategic decisions." "With all due respect," Xavier's voice was ice, "my wife has more insight into communities we should be serving than anyone in this room. If she has ideas, we listen." The room went silent. After the meeting, Richard cornered Jessica. "You have him wrapped around your finger, don't you?" "Excuse me. Xavier Grantham doesn't defend anyone, doesn't trust anyone. But you waltz in here after a quickie wedding and suddenly he's your champion." Richard stepped closer. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'll figure it out. And when I do, you'll be gone, and Xavier will remember why emotions have no place in business." Jessica held her ground. "I'm not playing a game. I'm his wife, and I'm not going anywhere." But Richard's words stayed with her. That night she asked Xavier, "Do you regret marrying me?" "What? No. Why?" "Richard thinks I'm manipulating you, that I've made you soft." Xavier pulled her into his arms. Richard's an old dinosaur who thinks ruthlessness is the only path to success. He's wrong. You haven't made me soft, you've made me better. You mean that? I mean that. You've given me something I didn't know I was missing. What? A reason to come home. Jessica kissed him, pouring all her feelings into it. Feelings that were growing dangerous. Feelings that looked a lot like love. 3 months in, she realized the terrifying truth. She was falling for her husband. The call came during breakfast. Xavier's phone rang and Jessica watched his face transform from relaxed to rigid. What? When? Pause. I'll be there immediately. He ended the call, already standing. It's my grandfather. He collapsed. They've rushed him to the hospital. Jessica grabbed her purse. I'm coming with you. The hospital was cold, sterile, terrifying. William was in the ICU, hooked up to machines, looking smaller and frailer than Jessica had ever seen him. Xavier stood frozen at the door. I can't go in. Jessica took his hand. Yes, you can. I'm right here. They entered together. William's eyes fluttered open when he heard them. Xavier, he breathed. Jessica, good, you're both here. Don't talk, Xavier said roughly. Save your strength. Nonsense, I have things to say. William's hand shook as he reached for them. I'm proud of you, grandson. You found something real. I can see it. Grandfather, let an old man finish. William smiled at Jessica. You saved him. Thank you. Tears streamed down Jessica's face. You're going to be fine. You're going to beat this. But they all knew the truth. William died 3 days later, peacefully, with Xavier holding one hand and Jessica holding the other. The funeral was massive, hundreds of people, speeches, formality. Xavier delivered the eulogy with perfect composure, his voice never wavering. But that night, when they were alone, he shattered. Jessica found him in his study, surrounded by photos of his grandfather, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Xavier, she whispered. Everyone leaves, he choked out. Everyone I love leaves. She pulled him into her arms, held him while he broke. I'm not leaving. I promise you, I'm not leaving. You can't promise that. No one can. Yes, I can. Because She stopped, realized what she was about to say. Xavier pulled back, eyes red. Because you what? Because I love you, Jessica said. The words were out before she could stop them. I know it's only been 3 months. I know this was supposed to be temporary. But I love you, Xavier Grantham. He stared at her. You can't. Too late. Jessica, I don't expect you to say it back. I just needed you to know. You're not alone. Not anymore. Xavier kissed her desperately, clinging to her like she was the only solid thing in his world. Later, in bed, he held her close. I don't know if I can give you what you deserve. I just want you, however you can give yourself. Even broken. Especially broken. He buried his face in her hair, and Jessica felt his tears against her neck. The next morning brought a new complication. William's will. The reading of the will was held in the Grantham Industries boardroom. Xavier sat rigid, Jessica beside him. The lawyer opened the folder. To my grandson, Xavier James Grantham, I leave controlling interest in Grantham Industries, on the condition that he remains married for a minimum of 1 year. Xavier's hand found Jessica's under the table. However, the lawyer continued, I have also left a trust fund of $20 million to Jessica Marie Grantham, accessible regardless of the marriage status. The room erupted. Richard Ashford jumped up. This is outrageous. She was only married to him for 3 months. Sit down, Richard, the lawyer said calmly. Mr. Grantham was of sound mind when he made these arrangements. The will is ironclad. After the meeting, alone in Xavier's office, Jessica paced. $20 million. Your grandfather left me $20 million. He liked you. Xavier, people will think what they always think, that you married me for money. He pulled her close. But we know the truth. Do we? Jessica looked up at him. I didn't marry you for money. I married you because I was heartbroken and impulsive. But now I'm financially independent. I could leave. Is that what you want? No, that's the point. I'm staying because I want to, not because I need to. But the contract said 6 months, and now your grandfather's will says we have to stay married for a year. So we stay married for a year. And then what? Xavier was quiet. Then, I don't know. But I know I'm not ready to let you go. That's not the same as wanting to stay married. Jessica, she pulled away. I need some air. I need to think. Where are you going? I don't know, but I need space. She grabbed her purse and left, ignoring Xavier calling after her. Jessica walked the city for hours, trying to process everything. The money, the will, Xavier's inability to say he loved her. Her phone buzzed. Maya, coffee? I miss you. They met at their old cafe, the one Jessica used to go to when she was just a marketing coordinator with a simple life. You look fancy, Maya said. Jessica glanced down at her designer clothes, her expensive haircut. I feel like I'm playing dress-up. Are you happy? The question struck deep. I don't know. I love him. He needs me, but I don't think he'll ever really let me in. Then why stay? Because I promised. Because his grandfather just died. Because you're scared, Maya finished. You're scared that if you leave, you'll regret it forever. And you're scared that if you stay, you'll lose yourself trying to save him. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just finally listening. That night, Jessica returned to the penthouse. Xavier was in his study, working late as always. We need to talk, she said. He looked up, fear flickering in his eyes. Okay. I'm staying. For the year, like your grandfather wanted. But after that, we need to make a real decision about this marriage. Not based on contracts or money or obligation, based on whether we actually want to spend our lives together. Let me finish. I love you, Xavier, but love isn't enough if you can't let yourself be vulnerable with me. If you can't imagine a future where we're not just playing house but actually building a life. I'm trying. I know, but trying isn't the same as doing. Jessica took a breath. So here's what I'm proposing. We have 9 more months. 9 months to figure out if this marriage can be real. If you can let me all the way in. And if you can't, we end it. Cleanly. No bitterness. Xavier stood, crossed to her. And if I can? Then we throw away the contract and actually choose each other. Every day. For real. That's terrifying. I know, but isn't that what love is? Choosing to be terrified together? He kissed her softly. 9 months. 9 months, she agreed. Neither of them knew that in 9 months everything would explode in ways they never imagined. For the next few months, things were good. Not perfect. Xavier still struggled with vulnerability, still worked too much, still kept parts of himself locked away. But he was trying. Jessica threw herself into the Grantham Foundation, creating the scholarship program she'd proposed. She loved the work, loved feeling useful beyond just being Xavier's wife. 6 months into their marriage, a scandal broke. An investigative journalist published an article, The Marriage That Saved an Empire. Inside Xavier Grantham's billion-dollar wedding, the piece revealed everything: the contract marriage, the grandfather's ultimatum, the initial arrangement. Someone had leaked the prenuptial agreement. Jessica's phone exploded with calls. The media camped outside their building. Social media turned vicious. She's a fraud. He married her for money. This whole romance was staged. Xavier called an emergency press conference. My marriage to Jessica began as an arrangement, yes. But it became something real, something neither of us expected. So you admit you lied, a reporter shouted. I admit I wasn't honest about how we started. But I'm being honest now. I love my wife. And that's the only thing that matters. The words hit Jessica like a thunderbolt. He'd said it. Publicly. Without hesitation, after the conference, alone in the car, she turned to him. You told the world you love me before you told me privately. I know. I'm an idiot. Xavier took her hand. But it's true. I love you, Jessica. I think I started falling for you the moment you proposed marriage in that courthouse hallway. That was very romantic, she said through tears. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at feelings or vulnerability or any of it. But I'm willing to learn. If you'll be patient with me. I'll be patient, as long as you keep trying. They kissed, and Jessica felt something settle in her chest. Hope, real, genuine hope for their future. But the scandal didn't die. Richard Ashford used the revelation to call for Xavier's resignation as CEO. He's proven he can't be trusted. He lied to the board, to the shareholders, to everyone. The emergency board meeting was brutal. Jessica sat in the gallery, watching Xavier defend himself. Yes, I married Jessica initially for business reasons, but I've never let my personal life affect my business decisions. Grantham Industries has thrived under my leadership. Our stock is up 30% since I took over. We've expanded into new markets, increased our charitable giving, and maintained our reputation for excellence. By lying, Richard shot back. By being human, Xavier corrected. I made a mistake. I should have been honest from the start. But my feelings for Jessica are real, and they've made me a better leader. I'm more connected to our employees, more aware of our impact on communities. If that's a weakness, then I'll gladly be weak. The vote was close, but Xavier retained his position as CEO. That night, exhausted and drained, they collapsed into bed. "This is my fault," Jessica said. "If I hadn't agreed to marry you, then I would have lost everything that matters." Xavier pulled her close. "You didn't ruin my life, Jessica. You saved it. Even with all this chaos? Especially with all this chaos. Because now I know what I'm fighting for. Not just the company. You. Us." Jessica kissed him. "I love you. I love you too, and I'm going to spend the rest of our lives proving it." 9 months into their marriage, things had settled. The scandal faded. The media moved on to new stories. Xavier and Jessica found their rhythm: work, foundation events, quiet dinners at home. They were genuinely happy. Then Jessica got a call from her mother. "Honey, I need you to come home. It's urgent." Jessica flew to Oregon, expecting health problems or family drama. Instead, her mother sat her down with old photo albums. "There's something I need to tell you about your father." What followed was a revelation that shook Jessica's world. Her father hadn't died in an accident. He'd left, walked away from their family, started a new life across the country. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jessica whispered. "Because I wanted to protect you. I wanted you to remember him as a hero, not a man who abandoned us." Jessica returned to New York shattered. Xavier found her sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. "What happened?" She told him everything. "My whole life has been built on a lie. My father, our marriage, everything I thought was real was just..." "Hey." Xavier knelt in front of her. "Our marriage started as an arrangement, but what we have now is real. You know that, right? Do I? Or am I just desperate to believe in something?" "Jessica, I need time to think." She stood. "I'm going to stay at a hotel for a few days." "Don't do this. Don't push me away." "I'm not pushing you away. I just need space to process." She left, despite Xavier's protests. For 3 days, Jessica holed up in a hotel, thinking about her father, about Burke, about Xavier, about patterns of abandonment, and her desperate need to make relationships work, even when they might not be meant to. Maya came to visit. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to run. Just walk away before Xavier can hurt me like everyone else has." "And the other part?" "The other part remembers how he held me when his grandfather died, how he defended me to the board, how he looks at me like I'm the only person in the world who matters." "Sounds like you've already made your decision." Jessica smiled through tears. "Yeah, I have." She returned to the penthouse. Xavier was at the window, looking haggard and exhausted. "I'm sorry," she said. He turned. "Don't apologize. You needed space. I understand." "I love you, Xavier, not because I'm desperate or broken or trying to fix something. I love you because you're you. Because you make me laugh and challenge me and support my dreams. Because when I'm with you, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Xavier crossed to her, cupped her face. "I was terrified you wouldn't come back." "I'll always come back, as long as you want me. I want you, for the rest of my life." He dropped to one knee, pulled out a ring box. Inside was a stunning diamond, nothing like the simple band they'd exchanged at the courthouse. "Jessica Hartley Grantham, will you marry me? For real this time. Not because of a contract or an inheritance or any reason except that I love you and I want to spend forever proving it." Jessica laughed and cried simultaneously. "We're already married, you idiot." "I know, but we're doing it right this time. So, yes or no?" "Yes. Always yes." He slid the ring on her finger, kissed her deeply. The second wedding was everything the first wasn't. A garden ceremony with their closest friends and family. Jessica wore a dress she actually chose, walked down an aisle lined with flowers. Xavier stood at the altar, eyes bright with unshed tears. When they exchanged vows, real ones this time, written from the heart, there wasn't a dry eye in attendance. I, Xavier, take you, Jessica, to be my wife. I promise to share my whole life with you, to be honest and vulnerable even when it scares me, and to love you more every day than I did the day before. I, Jessica, take you, Xavier, to be my husband. I promise to support your dreams, to call you out when you work too much, and to remind you every day that you deserve to be loved exactly as you are. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, again, they kissed to thunderous applause. At the reception, Jessica found a quiet moment with Xavier. "Can you believe we almost didn't make it here?" she said. "I can believe it. We both had a lot of walls to tear down. And now I can't imagine my life without you." Xavier pulled her close. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "That courthouse wedding, the one we rushed into without thinking, turned out to be the best decision I ever made. Even with all the drama. Especially with all the drama, because it brought me you." Jessica kissed her husband, her real husband, chosen and loved and fought for. "So," she said, pulling back with a mischievous smile, "ready for the honeymoon?" "We already went to Paris. That was the fake honeymoon. This time we're going somewhere we actually want to go." "Where?" "You'll see. I booked it as a surprise." Xavier laughed, genuine and free. "I love you." "I love you too." And this time they both meant it, completely, without reservation. Their marriage had started as an accident, born from desperation and bad timing, but they'd turned it into something beautiful, a partnership built on trust, respect, and a love that had surprised them both. As they danced under the stars, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about them, Jessica whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" "For taking a chance on me in that courthouse." Xavier smiled against her hair. "Thank you for being crazy enough to propose marriage to a stranger. Best decision I ever made." "Second best," Xavier corrected. "The best decision was choosing to stay." Jessica couldn't argue with that. They'd both chosen each other, not once, but over and over again. And they would keep choosing each other, every day for the rest of their lives. Because that's what real love was. Not a feeling that happened to you, but a choice you made, every single day. And Jessica and Xavier chose each other, accidentally at first, but then on purpose, forever. Thank you for reading this story. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.